The athlete who's at the centre of a gender controversy has arrived back in South Africa to extraordinary welcome. Caster Semenya won the 800 metres gold at the World Athletics Championships in Berlin. But Semenya's blistering pace and appearance have forced athletics officials to call for a gender test on the runner. Let's talk about this now with Ross Tucker from the Sports Science Institute for South Africa. He's one of the world's leading sports scientists, talking to me now from Cape Town. Dr. Tucker, I know it's not a simple matter determining gender, even though a lot of people suggest it is, but could this have been handled in a better way? Was there a discreet way of doing this?
Hi, David. Sure. Thanks for having me. I think, regardless of the complexity of the matter, if professional management had been in place, then we would have seen a very different process by which this whole story would have been handled. And I think you can divide it into two parts. There's the part after the test was announced, and the IAAF are to blame because the testing is supposed to be confidential. And somehow there was a leak and the media got wind of it. Now, that was the first problem. But when I look at the response of Athletics South Africa and some of the politicians here in South Africa, it really is quite a shame because they are making statements that are actually factually incorrect. It's one thing to have an opinion about whether sex testing should be done or not. It's quite another to make incorrect statements. And I just look at the misinformation, the denials, the allegations, the accusations, and really this thing it started as a small spark, and people have just poured accelerant or fuel all over it, and it's become a massive, massive issue that unfortunately has no winners.
There's no delicate way of putting this. It's not simply about whether you've got the private parts of a man or a woman, is it? It's much more complicated.
It is. Biologically, the distinction between male and female is actually extremely complex. And so a number of people have said all you need to do is take her in the shower, or she just has to have a parade in front of some people not wearing any clothes. And it's not as simple as that. It's not even as simple as looking at her genes, because maybe many of your listeners will know that usually we say that someone who's got an X and a Y chromosome is a male, and someone who's got an X and an X becomes a female. But there are a number of conditions that cause that not to be true. So you get, for example, people who are female and who have XY chromosomes, and you get males with XX. And that's why the testing is so complex and involves people from different fields of medicine, like the endocrinologist, the geneticist, the gynecologist, the internal medicine specialist. Definitely not an easy issue. Anyone who says otherwise is oversimplifying it enormously.
So is there an absolute line, or is it a question of somebody's judgment at the end of the day, whether that line has been crossed, whether you are male or female?
I'd say it's a blurred line. There has to be a line, of course, because otherwise we might as well do away with the categories and just let everyone compete in one race. So there must be a line. The problem is that society, we tend to create a sort of binary system. You're either male or female, and you get people who actually are called intersex, and they exist somewhere in the middle. So what the authorities have to do is decide what to do with these individuals, and they have already identified a number of these conditions which are allowed in athletic competition. So, for example, you can be intersex, but you are allowed to compete with females because you don't have an advantage. In other cases, it's not quite as clear as that, and they have to decide how severe is the condition, how much of an advantage might it provide. So in the end, it comes down to maybe the best definition for it is an informed judgment call. But it has to be based on biology, and that's why all the tests need to be done, and then we can make some sort of conclusion further down the line.
Humiliating for the person concerned, but fascinating to hear your opinion. Ross Tucker, thanks very much indeed. Do keep us in touch with any developments you hear of in your role with sports medicine in South Africa. Thanks for coming on.